Hey there, folks, welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're joining me tonight for another creepy tale that'll send chills down your spine. If you're new here, I'm your host, diving into the darkest corners of the unknown, and I've got a story that'll make you think twice about working the night shift. Grab a blanket, turn down the lights, and let's get started. This story's about me, Jake Miller, a 32-year-old security guard who thought a gig at a mall would be easy until I found out what was waiting for me in the dark. I'd been out of work for a while after a bad injury on my last job as a firefighter. A collapsed roof left me with a bum knee and a pile of medical bills. I needed something steady, something quiet, so when I saw an ad for a night guard at Silver Pines Mall in the suburbs of Ohio, I figured it was perfect. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough to keep the lights on, and I'd heard the place was mostly empty after hours. My buddy Dan wasn't so sure. "That mall's got a bad vibe, Jake," he said over beers the night before my first shift. "Heard some worker died there during construction. Fell into wet concrete or something." I shrugged it off. "Just rumors, man. I'll be fine." I wish I'd listened. I drove out to Silver Pines that first night, my old pickup rattling down the quiet highway. The mall was a big, sprawling building, all glass and steel, but it looked tired, faded signs, cracked pavement in the parking lot, and a weird quiet that hung over the place. Inside, the air smelled like cleaning supplies and dust, the lights flickering a little, casting long shadows across the tiled floors. The place was huge, 3 floors of shuttered stores, a food court, an arcade, and a bunch of empty offices up top. It felt too big for one guy to watch alone, but I was used to handling tough stuff, so I shook off the uneasy feeling. The manager, Mr. Harris, met me at the security office on the first floor. A small room with a desk, a wall of camera screens, and a logbook for nightly reports. Harris was a wiry guy in his 60s, with deep lines on his face and eyes that didn't smile. "You'll patrol every hour, check the cameras, make sure nothing's out of place," he said, handing me a flashlight and a set of keys. "And don't ignore any noises. Things get weird around here at night." I nodded, figuring he meant vandals or rats, but something in his tone made my stomach twist. Harris left after walking me through the basics, how to lock the main doors, where the breaker room was, how to reset the cameras if they glitched. "Good luck, kid," he muttered, grabbing his jacket and heading out, the echo of his steps fading down the hall. I locked the main entrance behind him, the glass doors rattling a little, and settled into the office, the hum of the cameras and the tick of a clock on the wall my only company. The screens showed every corner of the mall, empty aisles, dark storefronts, the arcade machines on the second floor, all silent under the flickering lights. I figured I'd just watch some old action movies on my phone to pass the time. Around 11 p.m., I heard a noise, a soft thump, like something heavy dropping, coming from the direction of the management offices on the 3rd floor. I glanced at the camera screens, my heart picking up a beat, but the hallway up there was empty, just shadows and closed doors. The thump came again, louder, and I grabbed my flashlight, my knee aching as I stood. Probably just a pipe, I told myself, but my gut wasn't buying it. I had to check, part of the job, right? I took the stairs to the 3rd floor, the echo of my boots bouncing off the walls, the air getting colder the higher I went. The management offices were down a long hallway, the doors all locked, the windows dark. I shone my light around, the beam shaking a little, and heard the thump again coming from the last office at the end. My throat tightened and I moved closer, my keys jangling as I tried the handle locked like it should be. I pressed my ear to the door, and that's when I heard it. A faint tap tap tap, like someone knocking from the inside. My heart jumped, and I backed up, my light trembling. "Hello?" I called, my voice echoing down the hall, but no one answered. The tapping stopped and I stood there, my breath shallow, waiting for something, anything, but the hall was silent again, just the hum of the lights overhead. I checked the camera feed on my phone, the screen grainy, but the office hallway was empty. No movement, no shadows. My hands were sweaty as I headed back to the security office, the thump echoing in my head, and I wrote it down in the logbook. 11:15 p.m. Noise from 3rd floor. Checked. Nothing found. Trying to convince myself it was nothing. Back in the office, I sat down, my knee throbbing, and kept my eyes on the cameras, the screens flickering every few minutes. The mall felt bigger now, the shadows darker, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The clock ticked toward midnight, and I heard a faint creak like a door opening somewhere far off. But the cameras showed nothing, just empty halls, empty stores, empty everything. I gripped my flashlight, my hands steady but my heart racing, and knew this job wasn't going to be as easy as I'd thought. Something was here, something that didn't want me to ignore it, and my first night was just the beginning. The tapping from the third floor stuck in my head, a steady beat that wouldn't let me relax, even back in the security office. The clock on the wall ticked past midnight, each second stretching longer, and Silver Pines Mall felt bigger, darker, like it was holding its breath. The camera screens showed nothing, just empty halls, shuttered stores, and flickering lights, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. My knee throbbed from climbing the stairs, and I kept my flashlight close, my hands sweaty, trying to focus on the job. I told myself it was just an old building, creaky pipes, nothing more. But I didn't believe it. Around 1 a.m. I heard a new sound, a soft ding, sharp and clear, coming from the main lobby on the first floor. It was the elevator, the kind of noise it makes when the doors open, but I hadn't touched the call button and no one else was here. My heart skipped, and I checked the camera screen, the feed showing the lobby empty, the elevator doors wide open, the light inside flickering. I rubbed my eyes, thinking it was a glitch, but the doors stayed open, like they were waiting for someone to step out. My throat tightened and I grabbed my flashlight, my hands shaky. I had to check, couldn't just sit here and pretend it didn't happen. I left the office, my boots echoing on the tiled floor, the air colder as I reached the lobby. The elevator was still open, the light inside buzzing, casting weird shadows on the walls. I shone my flashlight in, my breath shallow, but it was empty, no one, nothing, just a faint smell of damp concrete that made my stomach twist. I hit the close button, the doors sliding shut with a groan, and stepped back, my heart pounding. The ding came again, and the doors opened right back up, the light flickering harder, like it was mocking me. My hands trembled, and I hit the button again, same thing, the doors sliding open, the smell stronger now, like wet earth and something sour. I backed away, my light shaking, and headed to the security office, my mind racing. The camera screen still showed the lobby, the elevator doors open, but now there was a shadow, just a flicker, in the corner of the frame. Tall and thin, gone before I could focus. My stomach dropped, and I wrote it in the logbook. 1:05 a.m., elevator opened on its own, checked, nothing found, my handwriting messy. My hands too shaky to keep steady. I kept my eyes on the screen, the doors finally closing after a few minutes, but the air felt heavier, like something had stepped out when I wasn't looking. Around 2 a.m., I heard another noise, footsteps, soft but clear, coming from the second floor, where the arcade and food court were. I checked the camera feed, my heart racing, and saw the hallway up there, empty, the lights flickering, but the footsteps kept going, a steady tap tap tap, like someone pacing. I zoomed in, my hands sweaty, and caught a glimpse of something. A shadow, quick and low, darting past the arcade entrance, gone in a blink. My throat tightened, and I grabbed my flashlight, my knee aching as I stood. I didn't want to go up there, but I had to, part of the job, right? I took the stairs again, the echo of my steps mixing with the faint footsteps above, the air growing colder the higher I went. The second floor was darker, the lights dimmer, and the arcade entrance loomed at the end of the hall, the glass doors reflecting my flashlight beam. The footsteps stopped as I got closer, and I shone my light through the doors, my breath fogging the glass. The arcade was pitch black, the machines off, but I swore I saw movement. A flicker of shadow, darting between the claw machines, too fast to follow. My heart pounded and I tried the door, locked like it should be, but the shadow moved again, closer now, and I backed up, my light trembling. I hurried back to the office, my legs shaky, the footsteps starting up again as I left, echoing down the stairs behind me. Back at my desk, I checked the camera feed, my hands trembling, and saw the arcade hallway empty, the lights flickering, but the shadow was there, faint and tall, standing by the glass doors, its head tilted like it was watching me. The static flickered and it was gone, but my stomach churned, and I felt a chill down my spine, like something was standing right behind me. I spun around, my light shaking, but the office was empty, just the hum of the cameras and my ragged breathing. The rest of the night dragged on, the elevator dinging every hour, the doors opening and closing on their own, the footsteps pacing the second floor, always stopping when I got close. I stayed in the office, my hands gripping the flashlight, my eyes on the screens, but every shadow seemed to move, stretching toward me. The lights flickered every few minutes, the air growing colder. And I kept hearing that faint tap tap tap, like someone or something was trying to get my attention. I wrote it all down in the logbook, my hands shaky, trying to make sense of it, but deep down, I knew this wasn't just an old building settling. The clock hit 6 a.m., and Harris showed up, his car pulling into the lot, the first light of dawn breaking through the windows. I unlocked the main doors, my legs shaky, and met him outside, my voice low. Harris, the elevator kept opening on its own, and I heard footsteps. Something's not right here. He sighed, his eyes tired, and nodded. Yeah, it happens. Just keep your head down, do your rounds. You'll get used to it. I drove home, my hands trembling on the wheel, the smell of damp concrete lingering in my nose. I didn't want to get used to it, I wanted answers, but I had a feeling Silver Pines wasn't going to make it easy. The elevator dinging and those footsteps on the second floor stuck with me, a loop I couldn't shake as I drove home that morning. The smell of damp concrete lingered in my nose, and Silver Pines Mall felt like it had crawled under my skin. I barely slept that day, my knee aching, my mind replaying the shadow on the camera screen. The way it tilted its head like it knew I was watching. I told myself it was just an old building, maybe some kids messing around, but Harris's words, "You'll get used to it," didn't sit right. I didn't want to get used to it. I wanted to know what was going on. That night, I dragged myself back to Silver Pines, the fog rolling in thick, the parking lot empty except for my truck. The mall looked darker, the lights flickering through the glass doors, and the air felt heavier as I stepped inside, locking the entrance behind me. I settled into the security office, my flashlight on the desk, the camera screens flickering every few seconds. The elevator doors stayed closed for now, but I couldn't relax, my eyes darting between the screens and the logbook, my hands sweaty. The clock ticked past 10 p.m. and the mall was silent, too silent, like it was waiting for something. Around 11:30 p.m. I heard a new sound, a faint hum, then a burst of static, coming from the second floor where the arcade was. My heart skipped, and I checked the camera screen, the feed showing the arcade entrance, the glass doors reflecting the dim lights. Then I heard it, laughter, high-pitched and childish, echoing down the hall, followed by the beep-beep-beep of an arcade machine, like someone was playing. My stomach dropped. The power to the arcade was off. I checked the breaker myself with Harris. No way those machines were on. I grabbed my flashlight, my hands trembling, and headed to the stairs. The laughter growing louder, mixing with the clatter of coins and the whir of a claw machine. The air got colder as I reached the second floor, the hallway dark, the lights flickering like they were about to die. I shone my light through the arcade doors, my breath fogging the glass, and saw the machines. Lit up, screens flashing, the claw machine moving on its own, its claw grabbing at nothing. The laughter came again, a little girl's giggle, but the arcade was empty, the shadows stretching long and thin across the floor. My throat tightened and I tried the door, locked, just like last night, but the machines kept going, the laughter echoing, now joined by a boy's voice shouting, "I won. I won." I shone my light around, my hands shaky, and caught a glimpse of something, a shadow, small and quick, darting between the machines, gone before I could focus. My heart pounded, and I banged on the glass, my voice low. "Who's there?" No answer, just the laughter, louder now, and the machines speeding up, the beeps and whirs turning into a chaotic buzz. I backed away, my light trembling, and the lights in the hallway flickered hard, plunging the floor into darkness for a second before snapping back on. The arcade machines went silent, the screens dark, the laughter cutting off like someone flipped a switch. I stood there, my breath shallow, waiting for something, anything, but the silence was worse, heavy and thick, like the air was pressing down on me. I checked the camera feed on my phone, the arcade now dark, but I swore I saw a shadow, small, child-sized, standing by the claw machine, its head tilted, before the static flickered and it was gone. I hurried back to the security office, my legs shaky, the echo of my boots bouncing off the walls. Back at my desk, I wrote it in the logbook, 11:45 p.m. Arcade machines on, heard laughter, checked, nothing found, my handwriting messy, my hands trembling. I kept my eyes on the screens, the second floor feed flickering, and saw the arcade doors again. Closed, dark, but the shadows seemed to move, stretching toward the camera. My stomach churned, and I felt a chill down my spine, like something was watching me, waiting for me to come back. Around 1 a.m., The elevator dinged again, the doors opening on their own, the light inside flickering. I checked the camera screen, my heart racing, and saw the lobby empty, but the smell of damp concrete hit me, even from the office, stronger now, like it was seeping through the walls. The footsteps started up again, pacing the second floor. Tap, 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 and I heard the laughter, faint but real, coming from the arcade. My throat tightened and I stayed in the office, my hands gripping the flashlight, my eyes on the screens. The lights flickered every few minutes, the air growing colder, and I kept hearing that laughter, the beeps, like the arcade was alive, playing a game I didn't understand. The rest of the night was a blur of noises, the elevator dinging, the footsteps pacing, the laughter starting and stopping, always when I least expected it. I stayed in the office, my hands sweaty, my knee aching, trying to focus on the screens, but every shadow seemed to move, every noise made me jump. I wrote it all down in the logbook, my hands shaky, trying to make sense of it. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just kids or vandals. Something was here, something that didn't want me to ignore it, and it was getting bolder. The clock hit 6 a.m. and Harris showed up. His car pulling into the lot, the first light of dawn breaking through the fog. I unlocked the main doors, my legs shaky, and met him outside, my voice low. "Harris?" The arcade machines turned on by themselves. I heard kids laughing, but no one was there. He sighed, his eyes tired, and nodded. "Yeah, that happens. Just keep doing your rounds. Don't let it get to you." I drove home, my hands trembling on the wheel, the laughter echoing in my head. I didn't want to let it get to me, but it already had. And I had a feeling Silver Pines was just getting started. The laughter from the arcade echoed in my head all day, a sound I couldn't shake, even with the windows open and the radio blasting on the drive home. Silver Pines Mall was getting under my skin. The smell of damp concrete lingering, the shadow on the camera screen burned into my mind. I barely slept, my knee throbbing, my thoughts racing with the ding of the elevator and those childish giggles. Harris's words, "just keep doing your rounds," didn't help, they just made me wonder what he wasn't telling me. I had to know what was happening, but every part of me wanted to quit and never look back. That night, I returned to Silver Pines, the fog thicker than ever, the parking lot swallowed by gray, the mall looming like a shadow itself. I locked the main doors at 10 p.m., my hands sweaty, and settled into the security office, the flashlight on the desk, the camera screens flickering like always. The air felt heavier, the lights buzzing sharper, and I kept my eyes on the screens, the logbook open, my heart already racing. The clock ticked past 11 p.m. and the mall was quiet, too quiet. Like it was holding its breath, waiting for me to move. Around midnight, I heard it, footsteps, steady and deliberate, starting on the second floor where the arcade was. My stomach dropped, and I checked the camera feed, the hallway up there empty, the lights flickering, but the tap 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 kept going, moving across the floor, heading toward the stairs. I zoomed in, my hands trembling, and caught a shadow, tall, thin, darting past the arcade entrance, gone before I could focus. My throat tightened and I grabbed my flashlight, my knee aching as I stood. The footsteps moved to the third floor now, the sound echoing down the stairwell, and I had to check, couldn't just sit there. I took the stairs, the echo of my boots mixing with the footsteps above. The air growing colder with every step. The third floor was dark, the management offices stretching down the hall, the lights dimmer than before. The footsteps stopped as I reached the top, and I shone my light around, my breath shallow, waiting for something. Then I heard it, a thud, heavy and sharp, coming from the last office at the end, the same one with the tapping last night. My heart pounded and I moved closer, my keys jangling, the door locked but the thud coming again, like something hitting the wall inside. I pressed my ear to the door, my hands shaking, and heard a whisper, low, garbled, like someone talking under their breath. My stomach churned and I backed up, my light trembling. "Hello?" I called, my voice echoing, but no answer. Just the whisper fading into silence. I checked the camera feed on my phone, the hallway empty, but the shadow was there, tall, wearing something like a work jacket, standing by the door. Its head tilted before the static flickered and it vanished. My hands were sweaty, and I hurried back to the office, the thud echoing in my head. Back at my desk, I wrote it in the logbook, 12:15 a.m. M. Footsteps across floors, thud from third floor office. Checked, nothing found. My handwriting shaky, my mind racing. The camera screens flickered, the third floor feed showing the hallway. And the lights overhead buzzed louder, starting to blink. I kept my eyes on the screens, the footsteps starting again, moving from the third floor to the second, then the first. A steady tap-tap-tap that circled the mall. My throat tightened, and I felt a chill down my spine, like something was pacing right outside the office. Around 2 a.m., the lights in the office flickered hard, the buzz turning into a sharp whine, and one bulb popped, showering sparks onto the desk. I jumped, my flashlight clattering to the floor, and checked the cameras. The second-floor arcade was dark, but the lights there were blinking too, the machines silent now, the shadows stretching. The footsteps stopped, and I heard a laugh, low, rough, not like the kids from before, coming from the stairwell. My heart raced, and I grabbed my flashlight, shining it toward the door, but the hall was empty, the air colder, the smell of damp concrete stronger. The lights kept blinking, the office growing dimmer, and I saw a shadow on the camera screen, tall, in a work jacket, standing by the elevator on the first floor. Its head tilted like it was watching me. The static flickered, and it moved, slow, deliberate, heading toward the office, its steps silent but heavy on the screen. My stomach dropped, and I stayed put, my hands gripping the flashlight, my eyes on the door. The lights popped again, another bulb going out, and the shadow was closer now, just outside the office, its shape distorted through the frosted glass. I held my breath, my heart pounding, and the lights steadied, the shadow gone from the screen, but the air felt thick, like something was still there. The footsteps started again, pacing the first floor now, tap tap tap, and I heard the elevator ding, the doors opening on their own. My hands trembled, and I checked the camera, the lobby was empty. But the smell hit me, stronger than ever, and I saw a flicker of movement, a work jacket darting into the stairwell. My chest tightened, and I stayed in the office, my hands sweaty, my knee aching, knowing I couldn't keep ignoring this. The rest of the night was a blur of noises. Footsteps across the floors, the lights blinking and popping, the elevator dinging every hour, the rough laugh echoing from different corners. I stayed behind the desk, my hands gripping the flashlight, my eyes on the screens, but every shadow seemed to move, every sound made me jump. I wrote it all down in the logbook, my hands shaky, trying to make sense of it, but deep down, I knew it wasn't just the building. Harris had hinted at something, a worker, a death, and I had to find out more before it got worse. The clock hit 6 a.m. and Harris showed up, his car pulling into the lot, the fog lifting a little with the dawn. I unlocked the main doors, my legs shaky, and met him outside, my voice low. Harris, the footsteps moved across all the floors, the lights kept going out, and I heard a laugh, something's wrong here. He sighed, his eyes tired, and nodded. Yeah, I figured you'd hear it. There's a story about a guy who died here or fell into a concrete pillar during construction. Just keep your head down, don't stir it up. I drove home, my hands trembling on the wheel, the laugh echoing in my head. I didn't want to stir it up, but I had a feeling it was already awake. Harris's words about the worker who died in the concrete pillar stuck with me. A cold knot in my stomach that wouldn't go away. That rough laugh, the footsteps pacing across the floors, the lights popping, it wasn't just silver pine settling. Something was here, something tied to that death, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it knew I was digging. I barely slept that day. My knee throbbing, my mind replaying the shadow on the camera screen, the way it moved toward the office. I wanted to quit, to walk away, but I needed the money. And a part of me, a stubborn part, wanted to know the truth. That night, I dragged myself back to Silver Pines, the fog thick and heavy, the mall's lights flickering through the haze like a warning. I locked the main doors at 10 p.m., my hands sweaty, and settled into the security office, the flashlight on the desk, the camera screens buzzing with static. The air felt colder, the lights dimmer. And I kept my eyes on the screens, the logbook open, my heart racing. The footsteps started early, tap tap tap, moving across the second floor, and the elevator dinged, the doors opening on their own. The smell of damp concrete seeping through the walls. Around 11:30 p.m., I noticed something on the camera screen, a shopping cart, one of those metal ones from the old supermarket on the first floor. Moving across the lobby, my stomach dropped. The cart rolled slowly, its wheels squeaking, heading toward the elevator, but no one was pushing it. I zoomed in, my hands trembling, and watched as it stopped right in front of the elevator doors, the light inside flickering, the doors still open from the last ding. My throat tightened, and I checked the other cameras, hallways, stairwells, all empty, but the cart sat there like it was waiting for something. I grabbed my flashlight, my hands shaky, and headed to the lobby, my boots echoing on the tiled floor. The air was colder down here, the smell of damp concrete stronger, and the cart was exactly where the camera showed it, right in front of the elevator, the doors open, the light buzzing. I shone my light around, my breath shallow, but no one was there. No kids, no vandals, nothing. I touched the cart, my fingers brushing the cold metal, and it moved, jerked forward an inch, like something pushed it from the other side. My heart jumped, and I backed up, my light trembling, the elevator dinging again, the doors closing and opening over and over. I ran back to the office, my legs shaky, the squeak of the cart's wheels echoing in my head. Back at my desk, I checked the camera screen. The cart was still there, but now it was moving again, rolling toward the stairwell. Slow and deliberate, like it had a mind of its own. My stomach churned, and I wrote it in the logbook. 11:45 p.m. Shopping cart moving in lobby. Checked, nothing found. My handwriting messy. My hands trembling. The lights in the office flickered, the buzz turning into a whine, and I heard the footsteps again, tap, 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 moving across the first floor, heading toward the office. Around 1 a.m. I heard a new sound, a faint tap, like someone knocking, but it wasn't coming from the floors above. It was above me, from the ceiling, a steady tap, 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 like fingernails on wood. My heart raced, and I shone my flashlight up, the beam catching the tiles, but nothing was there. Just the sound, growing louder, more insistent. I checked the camera screen, my hands sweaty, and saw the cart. It was in the stairwell now, on the second floor, rolling toward the arcade entrance, the glass doors reflecting its movement. My throat tightened, and I felt a chill down my spine. Like something was standing right behind me. I spun around, my light shaking, but the office was empty, just the hum of the cameras and my ragged breathing. The tapping from the ceiling stopped, and the lights flickered hard, one bulb popping with a shower of sparks, plunging the office into dim light. I jumped, my flashlight clattering to the desk, and checked the cameras. The cart was at the arcade doors now, stopped, but the shadows around it seemed to move, stretching toward the camera. I heard the laugh again, low, rough. The same one from last night, coming from the stairwell, and my stomach dropped, the smell of damp concrete stronger, like it was seeping through the floor. The rest of the night was a nightmare, footsteps pacing across the floors, the elevator dinging every hour, the cart moving on the camera screen, rolling from the arcade to the food court. Then back to the lobby, always stopping in front of the elevator. The lights kept flickering, more bulbs popping, the office growing darker, and the tapping started again. Sometimes from the ceiling, sometimes from the walls, like something was circling me. I stayed in the office, my hands gripping the flashlight, my eyes on the screens, but every shadow seemed to move, every sound made me jump. I heard the laughter again, faint but real, mixed with the footsteps, always coming from a different floor. I wrote it all down in the logbook, my hands shaky, trying to make sense of it. But deep down, I knew this wasn't normal. Harris had mentioned the worker who died, fell into a concrete pillar during construction, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was tied to everything I was seeing. The smell, the cart, the laugh, it was all connected, and it was getting worse. I had to find out more, but every instinct told me to run, to get out before it was too late. The clock hit 6 a.m., and Harris showed up, his car pulling into the lot, the fog lifting with the dawn. I unlocked the main doors, my legs shaky, and met him outside, my voice low. Harris. The shopping cart was moving on its own. I saw it on the camera, and the tapping, the laugh, it's getting worse. He sighed, his eyes tired, and nodded. Yeah, I figured you'd see it. His name was Tom Reed, worker who died here, trapped in the concrete. Just keep your head down. Don't go looking for trouble. I drove home, my hands trembling on the wheel, the squeak of the cart's wheels echoing in my head. I didn't want to look for trouble, but it was already finding me. Tom Reed, the name burned in my mind all day, a ghost tied to Silver Pines Mall, trapped in the concrete, haunting the place with his anger. The shopping cart moving on its own. The tapping from the ceiling, that rough laugh, it all pointed to him, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he knew I was here, watching me, waiting for something. I barely slept, my knee throbbing, my hands trembling every time I closed my eyes, the squeak of the cart's wheels echoing in my head. I wanted to quit, to walk away, but I needed the money. And Harris's warning, don't go looking for trouble, only made me more determined to figure this out. That night, I returned to Silver Pines, the fog thicker than ever. The mall's lights barely cutting through the haze, flickering like a dying pulse. I locked the main doors at 10 p.m., my hands sweaty, and settled into the security office, the flashlight on the desk, the camera screens buzzing with static. The air felt colder, the lights dimmer, and I kept my eyes on the screens, the logbook open, my heart racing. The footsteps started early, tap, 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 moving across the first floor, and the elevator dinged, the doors opening on their own, the smell of damp concrete stronger than ever, seeping through the walls. Around midnight, the lights flickered hard, the buzz turning into a sharp whine, and then nothing. Total darkness, the power cutting out completely, leaving me in a black void, the hum of the cameras gone, the screens dead. My heart jumped and I fumbled for my flashlight, my hands trembling, clicking it on, the beam cutting through the dark. The office felt smaller, the shadows deeper, and I heard the laughter again. Low, rough, Tom's laugh, coming from the hallway outside, echoing through the mall. My stomach dropped, and I shone my light toward the door, the frosted glass showing nothing but darkness, but the laugh came again, closer now, like it was right outside. I stayed put, my breath shallow, my hands gripping the flashlight, but then I heard the arcade machines beep beep beep, starting up on the second floor, the laughter of children mixing with Tom's rough chuckle. A twisted chorus that made my skin crawl. The power was out, there was no way those machines were on. I checked my phone, hoping to use the camera feed, but the screen showed no signal, just static. And the laughter grew louder, the beeps turning into a chaotic buzz, like the arcade was alive, playing a game I didn't understand. I heard footsteps now, slow, heavy, coming from the stairwell, heading toward the office. My throat tightened, and I shone my light toward the door, my hands shaking. But the hall was empty, the shadows stretching long and thin. The footsteps stopped, and I heard a new sound, a soft creak like a door opening, coming from the lobby where the elevator was. My heart raced, and I remembered the shopping cart. The way it had rolled toward the elevator last night, like it was waiting for something. I didn't want to move, but I had to check. Couldn't just sit here in the dark. I stepped out of the office, my boots echoing on the tiled floor, the air freezing, my breath fogging in front of me. The lobby was pitch black, my flashlight beam barely cutting through the dark. And I saw the elevator doors closed, but the creak came again, and they slid open, the light inside off, the space empty. The smell of damp concrete hit me hard, and I heard the laugh, Tom's laugh, coming from inside the elevator, low and rough, like he was standing right there. My stomach churned, and I backed up, my light trembling, the doors closing with a groan, then opening again, over and over, a rhythm that matched the pounding in my chest. I turned to head back to the office, my legs shaky, but then I heard it, a child's giggle, soft and clear, coming from the second floor, followed by the squeak of the shopping cart's wheels rolling somewhere in the dark. My heart stopped, and I shone my light up the stairwell, the beam catching something, a shadow, small and quick, darting across the landing, gone before I could focus. The giggle came again, joined by the rough laugh. And I ran back to the office, slamming the door behind me, my breath ragged, my hands trembling as I locked it. Inside, the darkness felt heavier, the air thick with that sour, concrete smell. And I heard the tapping again, tap, 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 from the ceiling, steady and insistent, like something was trying to get through. I shone my light up, my hands shaking, but the tiles were still. The sound growing louder, more desperate. The laughter echoed through the mall. Kids, Tom, mixing together, coming from every direction. And I felt a cold breath on my neck, like someone was standing right behind me. I spun around, my light shaking, but the office was empty, just the shadows, stretching toward me. Around 3 a.m., the lights flickered back on. The buzz returning and the laughter faded, leaving just the hum of the cameras and my pounding heart. I checked the screens, my hands trembling, the elevator doors were closed, the arcade dark. The shopping cart back in the lobby, like nothing had happened. But I knew better. I wrote it in the logbook. 12:05 a.m., power outage, heard laughter and footsteps. Elevator opened. Cart moved, my handwriting messy, my mind racing. The tapping from the ceiling started again, softer now, and I felt my chest tighten, the weight of the night pressing down on me. The rest of the shift was a blur, footsteps pacing, the elevator dinging, the cart squeaking every hour, the lights flickering, threatening to go out again. I stayed in the office, my hands gripping the flashlight, my eyes on the screens, but every sound made me jump, every shadow seemed to move. I knew Tom Reed was here, his anger seeping through the walls. And I'd stirred something up, something that wasn't going to let me go. I had to find out more about him, about what happened, but I didn't know if I'd make it through another night like this. The clock hit 6 a.m. and Harris showed up, his car pulling into the lot, the fog lifting with the dawn. I unlocked the main doors, my legs shaky, and met him outside, my voice low. "Harris?" The power went out, the arcade machines turned on, and the cart, it moved again. I heard him laughing. He sighed, his eyes dark, and nodded. "Yeah, Tom's restless. You're stirring him up, kid. Be careful." I drove home, my hands trembling on the wheel, the laughter echoing in my head. I didn't want to stir him up, but I had a feeling it was too late. The laughter from last night haunted me all day, a sound that clung to my ears even with the radio blaring and the windows wide open. Silver Pines Mall was no longer just a job, it was a nightmare. And Tom Reed's name kept circling in my head, tied to that concrete pillar, his anger seeping through every shadow. I barely slept, my knee aching, my hands trembling as I replayed the power outage, the arcade machines, the shopping cart moving on its own. Harris's warning, "You're stirring him up," made my stomach twist. I didn't want to stir anything, but I had to know more. I couldn't keep running from this. That morning I called my buddy Dan, my voice shaky. "Dan, you remember that story about the worker dying at Silver Pines? I need to know more." He paused, his tone uneasy. "Yeah, I heard it from my uncle. Guy named Tom Reed fell into a wet concrete pillar during construction back in 2015. They couldn't get him out, buried him right there. Locals say the place has been cursed since." "Why you asking, man?" I swallowed hard, not telling him about the footsteps or the laugh. "Just curious." "Thanks." I hung up, my mind racing, and decided to dig deeper. There had to be something in the mall, some clue to stop this. That night, I returned to Silver Pines, the fog so thick I could barely see the parking lot. The mall's lights flickering like a dying heartbeat. I locked the main doors at 10 p.m., my hands sweaty, and settled into the security office, the flashlight on the desk, the camera screens buzzing. The air felt heavier, the lights dimmer, and I kept my eyes on the screens, the logbook open, my heart pounding. The footsteps started early, tap, 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 moving across the first floor, and the elevator dinged, the doors opening on their own. The smell of damp concrete stronger than ever. Around 11 p.m., I noticed a stack of old papers in the corner of the office, under a dusty chair. Maintenance logs, yellowed and curling at the edges. My hands trembled as I pulled them out, flipping through, and found an entry dated 2015. Incident report, Tom Reed. Construction worker fell into concrete pillar during pour, recovery impossible, body left in place per owner's orders. My stomach dropped. The report mentioned a foreman, Mike Larson, who quit after claiming he heard knocking from the pillar at night. Another note said, placed a cross near the site to quiet it, worked for a while. My heart raced. A cross, something holy. Maybe enough to fight Tom. I remembered the breaker room on the first floor, near the pillar where Tom died, according to the layout Harris showed me. I grabbed my flashlight, my hands shaky, and took a small cross necklace from my pocket, a gift from my mom I'd kept for luck. The footsteps moved to the second floor now, the arcade machines beeping faintly. And I heard the shopping cart squeak, rolling somewhere in the dark. My throat tightened, but I had to check. I couldn't just sit here, waiting for it to get worse. I headed to the breaker room. My boots echoing on the tiled floor, the air freezing, my breath fogging. The room was small, cluttered with boxes and wires, and I shone my light around. The beam catching a cracked concrete pillar in the corner, the spot where Tom had fallen. The smell of damp concrete was strongest here, and I heard a tap, 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 like knuckles on the pillar. Steady and insistent. My stomach churned, and I held up the cross, my hands trembling, whispering, "Leave me alone." The tapping stopped, and the lights in the room flickered. The buzz turning into a whine, but nothing happened. No shadow, no laugh, just silence. I checked the floor near the pillar, my hands shaking, and found a small metal box tucked under a shelf. Rusted and old. Inside was a worn prayer card, the words faded but legible. "Rest in peace, Tom Reed, may God free your soul." My heart pounded, and I pocketed it, the cross still in my hand, feeling a flicker of hope. Maybe this could help. I hurried back to the office, my legs shaky, the footsteps starting again. Moving across the third floor now, the tap, tap, tap echoing down the stairwell. Back at my desk, I wrote it in the logbook. 11:30 p.m. Found report on Tom Reed, prayer card near pillar, checked breaker room. My handwriting messy, my mind racing. The camera screens flickered, the third-floor feed showing the hallway, and I saw the shadow tall in a work jacket standing by the office door. Its head tilted like it was watching me. The static flickered and it moved, slow, deliberate, heading toward the stairwell, its steps silent but heavy on the screen. The rest of the night was tense, footsteps pacing, the elevator dinging, the cart squeaking every hour, the lights flickering, threatening to go out again. I stayed in the office. The prayer card and cross my only defense, but the shadow appeared on the camera again, standing in the lobby, its hand raised, its face a blur. My stomach churned and I felt a chill down my spine. The smell of damp concrete stronger, like Tom was closer. I read the prayer card aloud, my voice shaky. Rest in peace, Tom Reed. And the shadow flinched, its form twisting, but it didn't vanish. The lights dimming as it faded from the screen. The clock hit 6 a.m. and Harris showed up, his car pulling into the lot, the fog lifting with the dawn. I unlocked the main doors, my legs shaky, and met him outside, my voice low. Harris, I found a report, Tom Reed died in the pillar, and I got a prayer card. It moved, but it's still here. He sighed, his eyes dark, and nodded. You're digging too deep, kid. That card might slow him, but that mark on your arm, it's his now. Be careful. I drove home, my hands trembling on the wheel, the prayer card in my pocket. I had a weapon, but the red mark on my arm, faint but growing, told me time was running out. The red mark on my arm throbbed like a warning, a faint web of lines spreading under my skin, growing darker with every hour. The prayer card sat heavy in my pocket, its faded words, rest in peace. Tom Reed. My only hope against whatever was haunting Silver Pines Mall. I couldn't sleep, my knee aching, my mind racing with the footsteps, the laughter, the shopping cart rolling in the dark. Tom Reed wasn't just a ghost. He was a force, angry and restless, and I'd stirred him up by digging into his past. I knew I had to face him, end this, or he'd never let me go. That night, I drove back to Silver Pines, the fog thicker than ever, the mall's lights barely cutting through, flickering like a dying flame. I locked the main doors at 10 p.m., my hands trembling, and settled into the security office, the flashlight on the desk, the camera screens buzzing. The air felt colder, the lights dimmer, and I kept the prayer card and cross necklace close. My heart pounding. The footsteps started early. Tap, tap, tap. Moving across the first floor, and the elevator dinged, the doors opening on their own. The smell of damp concrete stronger, seeping through the walls. Around 11 p.m., the camera screens flickered, the lobby feed showing the shopping cart rolling again, stopping in front of the elevator, the doors open. The light inside buzzing. My stomach dropped and I heard the laughter, low, rough, Tom's laugh, mixed with the childish giggles from the arcade, echoing through the mall. The lights in the office blinked, the buzz turning into a whine, and I knew I couldn't wait any longer. I grabbed the prayer card, the cross, and my flashlight, my hands shaky, and headed to the breaker room where Tom had died, the concrete pillar his tomb. The air grew colder as I reached the breaker room, my boots echoing on the tiled floor. My breath fogging in front of me. The door creaked open, the smell of damp concrete hitting me hard, and I shone my light inside, the beam catching the cracked pillar in the corner. The tapping started, tap, 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 like knuckles on the concrete, steady and insistent, and I felt a chill down my spine, like something was watching me. I held up the cross, my hands trembling, and started reading the prayer card, my voice shaky but firm. Rest in peace, Tom Reed, may God for your soul. The tapping stopped and the room trembled, the boxes on the shelves rattling, the lights flickering hard. I kept reading, cleanse this place, break the curse, and the shadow appeared, tall and thin, wearing a work jacket, its face pale, its eyes black holes, its mouth a jagged sneer. My breath caught and it lunged at me, its claws slashing my arm, the cut burning like fire. I fell, crying out, the prayer card slipping from my hand, and it pinned me to the floor, its hands cold as ice, its voice a rasp. You can't stop me, Jake. I fought, my hands scrabbling for the cross, and held it up, my voice breaking as I kept reading. Set this soul free, the shadow screamed, a sound that shook the walls, boxes tumbling from the shelves, and its form twisted, ash falling like snow, the room trembling harder, the pillar cracking wider. I saw bones, yellowed, broken, poking through the crack, Tom's remains, and I kept reading, my hands shaking, the words tumbling out. The shadow's claws sank into my shoulder. The red mark on my arm burning, spreading faster, and I screamed, but I didn't stop, the prayer echoing in the room. The lights flickered hard, plunging the room into darkness. And the shadow's scream turned into a roar, its body breaking apart, ash and shadow swirling like a storm. I kept reading, my voice hoarse, until the last words, "May you find peace." And the room shook one final time, the pillars splitting open, the bones crumbling to dust. The lights snapped back on, the tapping fading into silence, and the shadow was gone, leaving just the cracked pillar and the smell of ash. I collapsed, my chest heaving, my arm bleeding from the cuts, the prayer card still in my hand. I stumbled back to the office, my legs weak, my shoulder throbbing, and checked the camera screens. The breaker room feed was clear, the lobby empty, the shopping cart gone. The mark on my arm burned, the red lines darker now, spreading to my chest, and I felt a weight, like something was still inside me. The clock hit 1 a.m., and the elevator dinged again, the doors opening on their own, the smell of damp concrete seeping through. I heard a laugh, fainter now but real, coming from the second floor, and the camera flickered, showing the arcade entrance. The shadow standing there, its head tilted, its form blurry but present. My stomach dropped, it wasn't over. I read the prayer card again, my voice weak. "Rest in peace, Tom." But the shadow didn't flinch this time, its laugh growing louder, echoing through the mall. The lights flickered, the buzz turning into a whine, and the footsteps started, tap, 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 moving across the floors, circling me. The red mark on my chest throbbed, the weight growing heavier, and I felt a pull, like something was trying to drag me toward the arcade, toward Tom. I stayed in the office, my hands trembling, the cross my only anchor, but the mark burned, the laughter louder, like he was mocking me. The rest of the night was a blur. Footsteps pacing, the elevator dinging, the cart squeaking, the lights flickering every few minutes. I heard the laughter, Tom's, the kids, mixing together, coming from every corner, and the shadow appeared on the camera screen, always closer, its black eyes staring into the camera. My arm bled, the red mark spreading to my neck, and I felt my vision blur, shadows moving in the corners of my eyes. The clock hit 6 a.m. and Harris showed up, his car pulling into the lot, the fog lifting with the dawn. I unlocked the main doors, my legs shaky, and met him outside, my voice cracking. "Harris, I used the prayer card, bless the pillar, it's weaker, but it's still here." I showed him the cuts. The mark. He sighed, his eyes dark, and nodded. "You stirred him up good, kid. That mark, it's got you now. You might have bought some time, but Tom doesn't let go easy." I drove home, my hands trembling on the wheel, the prayer card in my pocket, the laughter echoing in my head. I thought I'd fought him off, but he was still here inside me waiting. The red mark on my chest burned like a fire I couldn't put out, the lines spreading to my neck, my hands trembling as I drove home from Silver Pines. The prayer card sat heavy in my pocket. Useless now, and Tom Reed's laughter echoed in my head, a sound that wouldn't leave me alone. I barely slept that day, my knee throbbing, my mind a mess of shadows, his shadow, the arcade kids. The shopping cart rolling in the dark. I saw his face in my dreams, pale and twisted, his black eyes staring, whispering my name. I wanted to quit, to run, but the mark pulled me back. A weight I couldn't shake, like he was already inside me. That morning, I called my sister, Sarah, my voice breaking. "Sarah, I think something's wrong with me. Something at work," I said, my hands shaking. She sighed, worried. "Jake, you sound awful. Quit that job, come stay with me." I wanted to, but the mark on my chest pulsed, and I muttered, "I can't. It's following me." She begged me to get help, but I hung up, my mind spinning. I looked in the mirror, and my breath caught, my eyes were darker, my face paler, my mouth twitching into a smile I didn't control. I stumbled back, knocking over a lamp, and felt tears mix with the panic rising in my throat. That night, I dragged myself back to Silver Pines, the fog so thick it swallowed the road. The mall's lights flickering like a ghost's heartbeat. I locked the main doors at 10 p.m., my hands sweaty, and settled into the security office, the flashlight on the desk. The camera screens buzzing. The air felt heavier, the lights dimmer, and I kept the prayer card and crossed close, my heart racing. The footsteps started early, tap, 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 moving across the first floor, and the elevator dinged, the doors opening on their own. the smell of damp concrete stronger, seeping into my lungs. Around 11 p.m., the camera screens flickered, the lobby feed showing the shopping cart rolling again. Stopping in front of the elevator, the doors open, the light buzzing. My stomach dropped, and I heard the laughter. Tom's rough chuckle, the kids' giggles mixing together, echoing through the mall. The lights in the office blinked, the buzz turning into a whine, and I felt the pull, the mark burning, dragging my mind toward the arcade. Toward him. I fought it, clutching the cross, my hands trembling, and read the prayer card, my voice weak. Rest in peace, Tom Reed. The shadow appeared on the screen, tall, in a work jacket. His face a blur, its black eyes staring into the camera. It moved, fast, darting toward the office, its steps silent but heavy, and I felt it, a cold rush, like he was inside my head. You can't escape, his voice hissed, and I saw flashes. Tom falling, the concrete pouring, the panic, the darkness, memories that weren't mine, flooding my mind. I stumbled back, my hands shaking, and held up the cross, my voice breaking. Leave me alone. The shadow flinched, but the mark burned hotter, the red lines pulsing, and I felt my body move, not by choice, toward the door. I fought it. My legs heavy, my mind screaming to stop, and stayed in the office, my hands gripping the desk, the cross my only anchor. The lights flickered hard, plunging the room into darkness for a second. And the shadow appeared, standing in the doorway, its jacket torn, its face pale, its mouth a jagged sneer. My heart stopped, and it raised a hand, pointing at me, its voice in my skull. You're mine. Jake. I fell, my flashlight clattering to the floor, and the lights snapped back on, the shadow gone, but the mark throbbed, the weight growing heavier. Around 1 a.m., the elevator dinged again. The doors opening, and I heard the arcade machines beep beep beep, starting up, the laughter echoing, louder now, like it was in the room with me. I checked the camera screen. My hands trembling, the arcade was dark, but the machines were lit, the shadows moving, and I saw my reflection in the screen, my eyes black, my face hollow. My stomach churned, and I felt my thoughts slipping. Tom's anger, his fall, mixing with mine, and I heard myself whispering, Jake, join us? I clamped my mouth shut, my hands shaking, and stayed behind the desk, the cross slipping from my fingers. The rest of the night was a haze, footsteps pacing, the elevator dinging, the cart squeaking, the laughter and beeps coming from every corner. The shadow flickered on the camera, standing in the lobby, the arcade, the third floor, always closer, its black eyes watching me. My arm bled, the mark spreading to my face, and I felt my vision blur. Shadows moving in the corners of my eyes. I tried the prayer card again, my voice fading. Rest in peace. But the shadow laughed, its voice in my head. You're part of me now. My chest tightened, and I knew I was losing, the weight dragging me down. The clock hit 6 a.m., and Harris showed up, his car pulling into the lot, the fog lifting with the dawn. I unlocked the main doors, my legs shaky, my voice cracking. Harris, it's inside me. The mark, the whispers. I can't stop it. I showed him the cuts, the red lines on my face. He sighed, his eyes dark, and nodded. You're marked, Jake. The card might slow him, but Tom's got your soul now. You gotta decide, fight or let go. I drove home, my hands trembling on the wheel, the prayer card in my pocket. The whispers following, Jake, louder now, and I felt my body move, not by choice, toward the bathroom. I locked the door at home, the cross on the floor, and sat on the couch, the mark burning. I opened the prayer card, my hands shaking, and read it again, my voice weak. The tapping started, tap, 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 from the bathroom, steady and insistent, and I heard a laugh, my own voice. Rough and broken, echoing through the walls. I looked in the mirror, my eyes darker, my face pale, and felt my mind slipping, Tom's memories mixing with mine. I had to go back, face him one last time, or he'd take me completely, and I wasn't sure I could fight anymore. The tapping from my bathroom wouldn't stop. A steady tap, tap, tap that drilled into my skull, mixing with Tom Reed's rough laugh echoing in my head. The red mark covered my neck, my face, my hands trembling as I stared at the mirror. My eyes black pits, my face pale and hollow, my mouth twitching into a smile I didn't control. The prayer card lay on the table, useless now, and the cross necklace was on the floor, its chain broken. I hadn't slept in days, my knee aching, my mind a blur of Tom's memories, his fall, the concrete, the anger blending with mine. I wanted to fight, but the weight in my chest dragged me down, and I knew I was losing. That night, I drove back to Silver Pines, the fog so thick it swallowed the road, the mall's lights flickering like a dying pulse. My hands shook on the wheel, the prayer card in my pocket, but the mark burned. The whispers, "Jake, join us?" Louder now. Coming from the passenger seat, my own voice twisted and rough. I locked the main doors at 10 p.m., my legs weak, and settled into the security office, the flashlight flickering. The camera screens buzzing with static. The air felt thick, the lights dimmer, and I felt him, Tom, inside me, watching through my eyes. Around 11 p.m., the camera screens flickered. The lobby feed showing the shopping cart rolling again, stopping in front of the elevator, the doors open, the light buzzing. My stomach dropped and I heard the laughter, Tom's chuckle. The kids' giggles echoing through the mall, now joined by my own voice, whispering, "Jake," the lights blinked, the buzz turning into a whine. And I felt the pull, the mark dragging my mind toward the breaker room, toward the pillar where Tom died. I fought it, clutching the prayer card, my hands trembling, and read it, my voice weak. "Rest in peace, Tom Reed, may God for your soul." The shadow appeared on the screen, tall, in a torn work jacket, its face a blur, its black eyes staring into the camera. It moved fast, darting toward the office, its steps silent but heavy, and I felt it, a cold rush, like he was inside my head. "You're mine," his voice hissed, and I saw flashes. Tom falling, the concrete pouring, the darkness memories that weren't mine flooding my mind. I stumbled back, my hands shaking, and held up the cross, my voice breaking. "Leave me alone." The shadow flinched, but the mark burned hotter, the red lines pulsing, and I felt my body move, not by choice, toward the door. I fought it, my legs heavy, my mind screaming to stop, and stayed in the office. My hands gripping the desk, the prayer card slipping. The lights flickered hard, plunging the room into darkness, and the shadow appeared. Standing in the doorway, its jacket torn, its face pale, its mouth a jagged sneer. My heart stopped and it raised a hand pointing at me, its voice in my skull. "There's no escape, Jake." I fell, my flashlight clattering to the floor. And the lights snapped back on, the shadow gone, but the mark throbbed, the weight exploding inside me. I stumbled to my feet, my vision blurring, and headed to the breaker room. The pull too strong to fight. The air grew colder, my breath fogging, and I reached the room, the cracked pillar in the corner, the smell of damp concrete overwhelming. The tapping started, tap, 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 louder now, and the shadow appeared, its form solid, its black eyes boring into me. "Join me," it whispered, and I felt my body move, not by choice, toward the pillar. My hands reaching for the crack. I fought, reading the prayer card one last time, my voice fading, "Rest in peace." But the shadow laughed, its claws sinking into my chest. The lights went out, and when they came back, I was gone, or what was left of me. The clock hit 6 a.m. and Harris showed up, his car pulling into the lot, the fog lifting with the dawn. He found the doors locked, the prayer card on the floor, the cross broken, and a note in my handwriting I couldn't escape. He took me. The camera screens were blank, but the audio caught a whisper, "Jake, join us," faint but clear, even after I was gone. He called the cops, his hands shaking, and they searched the mall, finding the cracked pillar. The dust of bones, but no sign of me. A week later, Silver Pines reopened, the fog rolling back in, the mall quiet but restless. A new guard, Mike, started the night shift, young, eager, unaware. He locked the doors at 10 p.m., the lights buzzing, and heard a tap, tap, tap from the ceiling, steady and insistent. He checked the camera screens, his heart skipping, and saw a shadow tall, in a work jacket, standing by the elevator, its head tilted. "Hello?" he called, his voice echoing, and the whisper came, "Mike," faint but real. He froze, the lights flickering, and knew something was wrong. The elevator dinged, the doors opening, and the cycle began again. Silver Pines stood empty most days, the windows smudged, the lights flickering. But locals started talking, seeing a figure in the fog, pale and hollow, its eyes black, whispering names. Kids dared each other to peek inside, hearing laughter and footsteps, some running out pale, saying they saw a man in a work jacket or a guard with a broken smile, calling their names. The logbook stayed with Harris, its pages filled with my notes, its warnings unread. But the curse didn't die. I was part of it now, a shadow in the fog, my voice joining Tom's, waiting for the next one to take my place. I don't know where I am, trapped in the mall, the breaker room. The elevator, my thoughts a mix of mine and Tom's, the anger, the sorrow. I see Mike, his hands shaking, his eyes wide, and I want to warn him. But my voice is lost in the whispers, join us, join us. The fog wraps silver pines, the mark spreads through the night, and I'm part of the chain, calling the next soul, the cycle never ending. He took me and now I take others forever.